shows. You see, the day that changed my life came in about 1969 when I blagged my way into being in the school play at Warrybank High School in Liverpool. I was told to report to rehearsals, which I duly did, and met my fellow cast members, which included a fellow by the name of Clive Barker. And that was the day that changed my life. And after school and university, we started doing theatre in Liverpool, and crazy stuff, and all stuff of our own. Long story short, we were a mime company in the middle of the decade, and we were not by the end of the decade when we moved down to London and formed the Dog Company, doing original plays by Clive, which included a brilliant play called The History of the Devil, in which I played the devil and was barely off stage, huge role. Somewhere in the middle of it, I thought, I think now I've been doing this for a decade, I guess this is what I'm going to do. And I suppose at that point, I mean, the Dog Company came to a natural conclusion around 1982. And Clive was at that point giving me handwritten manuscripts of short stories in plastic shopping bags. He carried his world in plastic shopping bags. Have a look at these and tell me what you think, because I'm trying to write a few short horror stories to see if I can make a bit of money. Those stories, all of them ended up in Books of Blood, so that worked. And I kind of thought, what do I do now? Do I stop? Do I go to theatre school now? I was arrogant enough to think I knew what I was doing, having made my mistakes in public and learned on the job. And so that was what happened, and I backed an equity card with a fellow member of the Dog Company. We pretended to be a comedy duo. It's the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life. We manipulated a few contracts where we didn't actually do the gigs, but the point was, British Equity at the time included the Variety Artists Federation, because otherwise you got caught in that ridiculous catch-22. You couldn't get a job without an equity card, you couldn't get an equity card without a job. You couldn't get a job because you didn't have the equity, blah, blah, blah. So we put together 5 contracts and became members of Equity as variety artists. And I was working in repertory theatre in the UK, and then in 1985 I was having a conversation with Clive, and he said, oh, by the way, I'm trying to put together a low-budget independent British horror movie, and I think there might be a part in it for you. And that was the first time that Hellraiser and Pinhead came. A year later, we were turning the camera. I signed up once for an acting class at the Actors Centre in London with Patrick Stewart, long before Star Trek came into his life, and only because it was Patrick Stewart, because I worshipped him. He was a mainstay of the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I turned up having mucked up my Henry IV, and they told us that Patrick's filming schedule had been changed and he couldn't make it, and they sent along another member of the Royal Shakespeare Company, who was great, liked what I did, but it wasn't Patrick, so it didn't work. Therefore, I'm a magpie. I pick up whatever I can, I glean whatever I can. I think because I spent so many years in theatre, I'm certainly not of the school of staying in character through the day. In theatre, you get used to the fact that you come off stage and that stops, and you talk about the football scores, English football scores. With, why would you want to talk about American football? And start a campaign to have it rebranded as throwball, so you can have soccer called football again. And you do that, and then the ball doesn't bounce properly. Yeah, egg chasing.
Yeah.
So you're having that conversation, and then you hear your cue, and when you cross that line, bang. So yeah, I'm not that kind of actor, you know.
when we cut, that's complicated when you've got that makeup on your head, because you can't put it down, you can't walk away from it. And that's, people ask me about this, and I always say, when you're in front of the camera and working, you don't think about it. It's never a problem, not a problem. And what James said is absolutely right. It's part of what you sign up for. I always call the makeup process the commute. You may not like it, but if you want to go to work, you don't have a choice. It's the hours in between when you cannot settle. You want to just take that head off and put it over there and say, thank you. I'll be back a bit later and we'll do this again, but for now, I'm me. You can't. People don't relate to you as you. And I became a nomad, wandered around, because I wasn't good at being on my own, and I wasn't good at being around people. I discovered somebody else, rather well known for working in prosthetic makeup, did exactly the same thing. Robert Englund said to me, oh God, yes, I wandered round and round and round the sound stages on my own. As far as research goes, kind of difficult when you're playing a Cenobite. As far as I know, you know, there was nowhere I could go to watch Cenobites at work, or research the history of Cenobites or anything like that.
Congress.
Yes. Plenty of them in the Houses of Parliament, all on the Tory benches, and they're about to get their asses kicked at the next election. So, anyway, we won't wander into that territory. Yes, so it all happens in your head. There's nowhere else for it to happen. And all the normal questions you might ask yourself as an actor, like, you know, what breakfast cereal do I eat? Do I prefer American football or baseball or ice hockey or basketball, whatever it may be? Doesn't apply. I had Clive to talk to, and the copy of Piercing Fans International Quarterly that he gave me to look at, which was, remember that this was long in the days before body modification was as common as it is and familiar as it is now. This was a magazine devoted to people slicing and dicing every inch of their anatomy. And I mean what I say very literally. So there was that, and then the final piece of the jigsaw puzzle was when we screen tested the makeup. Sitting in front of the mirror on my own for 20 minutes, staring at this thing. What the fuck? and all these sense emotions coming back to me out of the mirror very quickly. It happens very fast. It's power, majesty, melancholy, weakness, pain, indifference, contempt, an awful lot of things. And I found what I was doing with Pinhead in 20 minutes, sitting in the makeup chair, staring in the mirror. Apart from that, it's read the script, 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 and then the rest to me is mystery. I don't know. You stand on your mark, and I'm wearing contact lenses that are very dark, not made to my prescription, so I can't see anything. I couldn't see my marks. I couldn't see the camera. They rolled up the hem of my skirt because I kept tripping over it and put clothes pegs on it. So all my sense of majesty has gone because I now need clothes pegs around, you know. I discovered Pinhead's slow walk, so I wouldn't trip over the skirt. I have to go through that humiliation again. It's a kind of a variation on the slow march, done where the foot goes forward and kicks the skirt out of the way, and then the next foot forward kicks the skirt. So it became a slow motion dance. But you stand on your marks and somebody says action, and that's it. There's no way back, and the switch flicks in your head and off you go. And, you take the also found, by the way, I found it amusing when I came to Hellraiser 3. It was the first time we shot a Hellraiser movie in this country. Assistant directors called me Pinhead, and I naively say, "Please call me Doug." And they would apologize. Oh well, and I realized, okay, you're not used to doing that in America. Everybody gets called by their character name, which I found strange, and that's partly because people like to stay in character all day. I was told, we shouldn't tell tales out of school, but why not, that Daniel Day-Lewis, when he was making Lincoln, would only answer to Mr. President. Yeah. But we would have had a problem, it seemed to me, because if I refused to respond to Doug, I would also refuse to respond to Pinhead, because he does not have a name. And that would have created a bit of a problem in terms of requesting me to go to set. Because I would have ignored Doug and I would have ignored Pinhead. So, but anyway,